Buju and Dinaway Maganang, Nicole Matthews Jaganashimong, Manidu Baneshikwe Indigo, Migazin Dodame, Ga Wababaganakag in Dunjaba. Greetings, my relatives. My English name is Nicole Matthews, and my Indian name is Spirit Bird Woman. I am Eagle Clan, and I am from the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. I am a mother, a grandmother, an auntie, a sister, a daughter, and a matriarch. I am Anishinaabe, Chinese, French, and Irish. All of these identities inform how I see and move through this world. Growing up, I was proud of my Indigenous roots, yet sad and ashamed that I didn't know my culture nor my language. I didn't fully understand that shame didn't belong to me, that I was the product of an attempted act of genocide, an intentional erasure, a federal policy to kill the Indian and save the man. Many of my ancestors were lost to that policy, and many more are still lost today. I was one of 5 interviewers for research on prostitution and trafficking of Indigenous women in Minnesota. We interviewed 105 of our Native sisters about their experiences and published their findings in our report, Garden of Truth, the prostitution and trafficking of Native women in Minnesota. We heard heartbreaking stories from our sisters. Historical trauma was one of the underpinnings of all of their stories. About 2/3 of the women had family members who were forcibly removed and sent to boarding schools, and nearly all of them were abused while there. I've been thinking a lot about the stories we are hearing come out of Canada and the United States, about the hundreds of children's bodies they have uncovered at residential schools in Canada, and how many more bodies they will uncover at boarding schools here in the United States. It is a painful reminder of what our ancestors went through who had their babies stolen from them and sent to faraway places where they were abused physically, sexually, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Babies who came home broken, and some who never came home at all. We asked the women if they saw a connection between the colonization of Native people and the prostitution and trafficking of Native women. Nearly all said yes. They talked about the trauma, the racism, the erasure. One woman told a story about a sex buyer who told her, "I thought we killed all of you." The level of violence in those words was frightening to hear. This is the level of violence we encounter on the street. This is what some people think when they see us, if they see us. Another woman told a story about a sex buyer who wanted her to role play that he was John Smith and she was Pocahontas. How telling, since Pocahontas is our first documented case of trafficking, taken from her home at the age of 12 or 13 and trafficked to a land far from her family, a story much different than the Disney version. We heard stories about child sexual abuse. In fact, 79% of the women had been sexually abused as children by an average of 4 perpetrators. Children as young as 4. One whose non-native father sold her for sex so he could get a tattoo. We heard about physical violence and rape. 92% of the women that we interviewed had been raped while being used in prostitution and trafficking. We heard about the real and current impact of colonization, including poverty and homelessness. 98% of the women that we interviewed were currently or previously homeless, which is a major risk factor in being sexually exploited and trafficked. Listening to the stories that our sisters shared with us of pain and violence was extremely difficult, and many of us were dealing with some vicarious trauma. One of the things that made it more manageable was being near the water. We were fortunate that about 1/3 of our interviews took place in Duluth, Minnesota, near Lake Superior. After several difficult interviews, me and another interviewer walked down to the water to cry. We offered our tobacco to the water to pray, and we physically touched the cold water. It's like when you jump in the shower and the water comes out ice cold. It kind of jolts you back to the physical sense of your body, to life. Water is one of our first medicines. Our bodies are made of mostly water. We carry our babies in water. We shed water from our eyes to express joy and sadness. And we drink water to hydrate and nourish our bodies. Water also has the power to wash away, to cleanse, and to heal.
Nibe Izagegu Kimikwechowe Nimiku Kijowe Nimiku Nibe Izagegu Kimikwechowe Nimiku Kijowe Nimiku Nibe Kizagegu Kimikwechowe Nimiku Kijowe Nimiku Nibe Kizagegu Kimikwechowe Nimiku Kijowe Nimiku.
We didn't just do this research to hear about pain and trauma. We wanted to know what services the women needed and what they needed to heal. What we heard was an overwhelming need to reconnect to and strengthen their cultural knowledge and practices. I've been thinking a lot about that since then and how many of us, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, are longing for that connection. One of our teachings is that we are all related, and that means that we have a connection to and with each other, as well as to our plant and animal relatives. Many of our cultures have universal teachings, values. For the Anishinaabe, we have the 7 grandfather teachings: love, honesty, trust, humility, wisdom, courage, and respect. I share these teachings as an offering of connection for all of us, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. Zagiduin, love. Much of the work that I do is done from a place of love. Love for my community, love for my people, love for my culture, love for my family, and love for myself. When we show up for each other from a place of love, we show up from a place of compassion and understanding, where we can support and encourage one another. When we come from a place of love, we can see possibilities and foster connection. But love is also about accountability. Not just the kind of accountability that comes from punishment, the kind of accountability that includes reciprocity. What could it look like to give back for what we have taken, to repair harm to those we have hurt, to truly express love for humanity and for each other? When we practice love and accountability for each other, we create possibilities to step into our full humanity. Goya Kwadaziwin, honesty. Honesty requires us to communicate with integrity and be true to our word. This is how we show up in the world. This is how we walk the talk. Honesty in our actions, and is very related to the next one, Debwewin, truth. Speaking our truth can be very scary. I have experienced many times in my life when I could hear my voice shaking when I spoke my truth. This is what was displayed through the stories that the women shared with us in our Garden of Truth research. Truth is also what was required by all the victims and survivors who have shared their Me Too stories. Inendizawin, humility. Humility is how we show empathy to each other. I see this as how we want to be in community with each other, being understanding and gracious in our interactions. Humility is knowing that even in our greatest moments, we are only one small piece of this bigger world. I am only one small piece of the whole. And I respect and honor what others contribute. I am both a teacher and a student. Nibwakawin, wisdom. We oftentimes think that only elders carry wisdom. We know, however, that wisdom is found in all people, regardless of age or gender. Our elders carry wisdom passed on from generations, as well as wisdom of lived experiences and teachings. Our young people carry fresh perspective to their wisdom and bring incredible energy to their wisdom and leadership. Zungadeewin, courage. Many, if not all of these, require some sort of courage. Walking through life in a good way with love, humility, honesty, and wisdom requires some courage. Courage is also about acknowledging our shortfalls and mistakes and remaining open to change and growth, being brave when we want to give up. Minaji Idwin, respect. Respect is about accepting and honoring others, and it is also about accepting and honoring ourselves. It is about being ethical and practicing that with others. One of the women that we interviewed, Violet, said it best. Women like myself need someone they can trust without being judged. Half of us were made to sell our bodies. We need people with hearts. When we show up with our hearts and get out of our heads, we can find deeper connections to these teachings. We can learn to embody them. I share these teachings or values as an invitation, particularly during this moment that we are in with ongoing racial and social tensions. These teachings connect us to our humanity, and that connects us to each other. This is not about my community. This is about our community. I am hopeful at the possibilities that can be uncovered when we have a deeper connection to each other and live the values and teachings as relatives. I want to close with the Strong Woman song in honor of all of our sisters who have shared their stories of truth and love. Chimigwich. Miigwech.
Thanks.